Hi there, folks. Welcome to another long overdue episode of the AirBrush Noob. I think that's what I'll film this under, is the AirBrush Noob. I recently picked up these defensive line from Wargamma. I was at Adepticon, and so I picked up a set of these. As you know, my Eldar force doesn't really have any fortifications, and I've always wanted to do fortifications for my Eldar. And so here, a little quad gun, I modified up what he sold, and so I added star cannon barrels onto the ends, as well as this little armor plate here in the front and the little armor plate in the back here. It's kind of hard to see with the black, but basically these are from the Hemlock kit. These are leftover parts that you get if you had gone with a Crimson Hunter, and so basically they're just these little fill-in parts that go on. And yeah, so I'm going to set that aside for the moment. Probably going to start off with a test piece, really, of a small section here. And basically, I think what I'm going to do is, now I posted on Facebook about, you know, what I should do. And I think I'm going to go with my original idea, which is I am going to go for a gold to red effect. It's sort of like what I had done on the links. If some of you might remember way back when I had done that video on the links. And so I'm going to do a similar effect for the walls. I'm going to do that effect on the outside of the walls, and on the inside of the walls I'm going to do a wraith bone. And so it's going to be, you know, fairly dark bone color at the top, fading down to a brighter bone, and the wall sections are going to go from a brighter gold up to a deeper red. And to achieve that, I'm going to use Minotaur's Antique Gold as the base, and then I'm going to use some golden raw umber to give myself a little bit of a shade on some of those gold areas and up near the top, just to get a bit of a color transition. And then I'm going to use Minotaur's magenta. I didn't grab my magenta yet, but yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. And so it should be fairly simple to hammer through the front sections, and then I'll get to the back. I don't know if I'm going to get through them all today, but essentially that is going to be the series. I don't know what I'm going to do with some of these details. Like, for example, like they have this kind of inner ring detail here that runs here. I'm not sure what to do with that, or this little symbol that kind of appears below this gemstone. I was going to do some OSL on the gemstones, the big gemstone, but I think with all the gold, I think the OSL would get lost, and so I'm not going to bother doing that. I think and the gemstones, I'm pretty much going to do them. I might do them turquoise, a deep turquoise. I don't know if I'm going to go for the bright turquoise or dark turquoise. I'm thinking dark turquoise because, again, this whole thing is going to be fairly bright, and so enough jibber jammering. I think it's time just to kind of get to work. I'm just going to let this run while I work, so you guys can kind of see my cleaning process as I flush and clean and things like that. So it'll be fairly boring, I think. Put these models away here. It might be fairly boring for some of you guys out there, but otherwise might be a bit of a laugh. I need a rubber glove in my pile of rubber gloves. Should always have some rubber gloves on hand when you're airbrushing, just so that you don't get paint on yourself, and that you can safely hold onto your models, just in case you don't have anything to hold on to. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So let's get some rubber gloves on. Yeah, and don't forget to turn your head and cough. There we go. Nice and comfy now. So what I'm going to be using is a Badger Patriot 105. I'm just going to be spraying this base layer down with at around what's my PSI at? Usually it's about, I leave it at about 30 for this kind of work. Yeah, it's just under 30. It's about 29, 28, somewhere around that. And so let's get to work. Make sure your paint is thoroughly mixed, and my paint looks thoroughly mixed as I can see it's kind of bubbly all over the place. And yeah, you can see my desk is all pretty messy from previous projects, but you know what? Don't judge me. Don't judge me. So let's have a look. See, nice shiny gold on there. A couple points there, just a little bit missing. So I'm just having my hand in behind the bit, just so that the air isn't blowing it away. And that's all I'm doing as far as that. Okay, that one's done. Let's get a little bit more gold in there. Still lots in there, but don't want to run it halfway through. Often whenever I'm working, I only ever like to fill in just a little bit at a time, just to prevent any kind of clogging or anything like that, you know. I can feel this kind of chunking up. You can probably hear it as it's kind of like it's not flowing and then also just comes spraying right out, which is not really a quality you want, especially in your paint. But again, this gold that I'm using is from the first batch of Minotaurs we got when the Minotaur line first came out. So there are a couple of foibles sometimes with the colors, but I think they look fairly interesting, kind of gold like that, just to begin with. Almost like the fronts of a chariot or something. As you can see, as I work my way around, I don't like to lay too heavy a color down all at once. I prefer to build the color up slowly so that, you know, you don't have any kind of streaking, chunking, anything like that, you know. Throw some gold in there. Mull out. Mull out. see some of this overspray is kind of catching over here. Got to be mindful of that when you're working on other work areas. I got a model here and model there, but as long as you kind of try and keep your workflow in one direction, you should be fine. Otherwise, you know, when you are airbrushing, you should be doing this from like a work hood or something like that, you know, just so that you don't get the colors wherever you don't want them, you know. But I think you guys know me by now. I like to work dangerously. Okay, that's the 4 wall sections there. And so far I'm pleased with how the gold is laying out. So I'm going to continue on laying the gold onto the smaller wall sections, or the bigger wall sections I should say. So far so good. The needle's getting a little bit dry. I like to take a little toothbrush here and just scrape the excess paint off the tip. Alright, let's grab a wall. Start this way, I guess. You can kind of see how she doesn't want to come out all at once for me. That's okay. Of course, I primed them black because metallics sit on top of black color very nicely. And so anytime you are using metallics, this is definitely the way you want to go with them. It does look pretty snazzy once you lay that gold down though, don't it? At least I think it looks pretty snazzy. Snazzy? Snazzy. Yeah, we'll stick with that word. Snazzy. Snazzy. Hansel? So pretty much I'm laying in enough paint to get a surface done. You can see here how it's really not that messy in there yet. Sometimes, depending on what color I'm using, sometimes I'll do a little flush beforehand, continuing on, even with that same color, just to make sure that I don't get any chunking or anything like that, clogging, what have you. I also try to watch how much paint has built up on my hands. I'll change gloves because sometimes when the paint is built up and you touch it with like the glove and it's got paint on it, it'll pull that paint off while it's drying, and so you got to be mindful of that as well. With the gold, it almost looks like high elf, which is kind of cool. So I mentioned before, I'm going to use gold on the front, bring it to a red, and then the back sides I'm going to do Wraithbone. Just for gigglies. So far, so good. The colors laying out nice and smooth. I was a little bit worried about the metallics chunking up on me and being, you know, really kind of a pain. But so far, so good. And already went out. These are not bad little kits themselves. I kind of like the look. I know that there's some other defense lines out there that some people really, really like the looks of them. I went with these ones because, well, I like the looks of these. They have like a classic Eldar kind of feel to them. And I think everybody knows that I have a bit of a fondness for classic Eldar design. And so that's why I went with these ones. Because, again, like I said, I have a fondness for the good old days. Go. Last wall section. Gone by fairly quickly, I think, you know? So, continue on. Get a nice solid gold base down on these guys. Whoops. Now see, you can see, as I mentioned before, see I touched those points there. And so now I have to fix them up a bit. Because again, there's a little bit of too much gold paint building up on my hands here, and so whenever it touches an area, it ends up kind of, you know, sticking to the paint, which is not what you want. Obviously. Okay. That's it for that section. I'm going to change gloves, and I think I'm going to rinse this out right now before I do the quad gun. So typically what I do is I just end up pouring some water into the pot. Empty the water, give a quick little flush, grab a bit more water. You can see already it's starting to run pretty clear. Give a little flush, grab my trusty rusty paper towel, and wipe the inside of the bowl, like so. So as you can see the bowl's already looking pretty darn clean. Get a little bit more water. Okay, give it a little spritz of Windex. Just let that sit. Pull the hammer back typically, let it drip forward and through the needle, and then spray the excess out. I usually point it away from where I'm working, just because I don't want to be breathing that crap in. And then of course, just grab a little bit more water here. Just flush that out. Again, we're still staying with the goal, but oftentimes, just to prevent clogging, anything like that, I'll do this pre-clean kind of thing here. Just again, it's just one of my things that I do, again, to preserve, you know, the brush, keeping it working order, and you know, all that. Again, just to make sure everything's running nice and smoothly. And I've been doing this for, I don't know how long I've been playing with the airbrush, but I've been playing with it for a while, and keeping this kind of routine going has kept this brush in perfect working order. And so, yeah. So as long as it still works, I'm a happy guy. Just changing gloves. And we'll work on the quad gun next. The quad gun is magnetized, so the two guns come off. The central, I don't know, module, whatever it is, I don't know. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the gun sections, if I may do them separately, I don't know. This definitely will get done, I think. This is definitely getting done. You can see it's just a poured resin, just pours that right in there. There's a little magnet inside there so that this piece here can just connect up like so, and then can rotate, and you know, it's attached in there, and you know, you can move it around the table, what have you. Yeah. So, airbrush. Grab a bit more gold. And let's begin. Yeah. Lay it on fairly heavy with this guy. Check at the inside. And that's it for the base. A little more gold in there. And let's do the command console, or the, I don't know, whatever the hell this thing is. There we go. side. It's okay. Now for the guns. The guns. The guns. The guns. Should I do the guns? Should I do the guns? Oh, something's time to do the guns. Yeah, I better do the guns. Not the barrels though. Just the main bodies. One gun. And two gun. There we go. Oddly enough, that gun looks brighter. So let's come back in with this one and brighten them up. There we go. There we go. So now we're done with the gold. We're done with gold. So it means it's time to flush again. Still a little bit of paint there, but as I've mentioned before, there is a certain amount of waste that often occurs when airbrushing. If you really wanted to save that tiny little millimeter of paint, you know, go right ahead, just get yourself a little pipette or something and just kind of siphon that off. But I personally don't really fret it because, again, you know, it's like pennies. It's pennies on the dollar that you're losing. And I mean, if you're really that concerned with it, well then, you know, by all means, clean it. But I'm not that concerned with it, so. And just give it a little flush. Often work the trigger back and forth as I flush, just to make sure there's no little debris inside the nozzle or anything like that. And just a quick little blast of index. Put the hammer back, let it drip, let it sit there for a minute or two. Again, you can work it back and forth, but typically I'll spray, you know, in another direction, just kind of downwind to myself, just so that I'm not breathing in the fumes. Of course, typically you should have an overspray container available, and of course you should be working with a mask and a air hood as well. But in my office, I typically don't have those things on hand, and so, but again, I'm not typically too worried about it. So I'm just trying to clear up some of this water from my area. So with that, we are done with the gold. So I'm going to set these pieces aside. Touch that. Looks pretty snazzy. Snazzy. Set these gold walls aside. I think even the gold walls look kind of cool. I think they look just cool as gold walls. Is that silly? Possibly. Okay, so next is the shading. I'm going to shade the gold just a little bit at the uppermost portion because I want the red to transition from a deeper red to a lighter red, as well as going from a slightly darker tone to a brighter tone near the base. So for that, I'm going to use some raw umber hue. This is mostly transparent color, and so it'll go on and it'll preserve most of the luminance of the metal, as opposed to using, say, something like say Agrax Earthshade, where because of the mediums that are in it, it will dull the finish, and I really don't want the finish to be dulled. I'm only looking just to tint the surface and create a bit of shadow. And so here, you can see, and basically I'm going to hold it at a slight angle so I'm catching the undersides here just a bit. So always, when you're going to start getting to the more delicate steps when you're airbrushing, start your airflow off the project and then bring it onto the project. Just like that. Not very much, just a little bit. Basically all I'm doing is I'm working it towards the top and down through this arc right here, and then coming down here as well. And that's it. It's really just a subtle color variation that I'm looking for. And when I apply the magenta, it'll give me a varying tone through there, which is obviously what I'm after. Just like that. Oops, gotta add some more. See, just a couple drops got us so far with that. Again, this paint is really, really nice. It's really, really thin, and its pigment is just so darn strong. It's just so good. I like these golden paints for projects, especially projects like this where you got large volume of color to lay out, you know. Okay, a little bit more. Do the guns. Could you imagine if you got GW paint in this kind of quantity? Man, they'd be the best company around. Alright, let's start with the base, I guess. With the base, it's kind of difficult as to where I really want to lay the shadow through. Probably just through the core. Really. Not too heavy. Maybe just this little edge line down here. Kind of like that. See, it's a nice shuttle shading on that. Shading on here. Oh yeah, we want the upper portions, right? So we'll just do just the upper portions here. A little too far on that one, I think. It's okay. Like that. This bit I'm going to set here to dry. And the guns, I think the guns, I'm just going to shade them. Which way are the guns? This gun goes, it sits like this. I think I'm going to shade just in this central core. Yeah. Just in that central core bit. And that's it. That's the shading, that's the gold, and I think I take a break at the moment here, let this stuff just thoroughly dry, and then we'll come back in with the magenta. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. Okay, and we're back. So grab the Ghost Tint Magenta, give it a quick little shake, make sure everything's all nice and flowing well. Stick with the Badger, Patriot 105. Load this guy up and give it a nice healthy amount inside the pot. And let's grab a wall section. Actually, let's move some of these wall sections over so that the overspray doesn't inadvertently catch anything. And how are we going to do this? Should do like sticky tack or something on there. So anywho, we're just going to begin spraying and laying the color down. So we get this little transition going through there. I don't think that looks too bad. I think I'm going to push the magenta just a little further down. Yeah. I think I kind of like that. One thing to be mindful of too with the ghost tints is that they tend to dry tip very easily. So keeping something on hand to take care of that, I think, is an added plus when you're working with the stuff. Spray a little bit more in there. I think I'm kind of digging it. Got a big dry tip going on already again. As I mentioned before, the ghost tints do tend to get dry tip really easily, really quickly. So something to be mindful of when you are working with it. For those of you out there who are going to kind of emulate whatever I'm doing here. And so again, before I start spraying the magenta on, you can kind of see just a very subtle amount of the umber that I had previously sprayed on there. And grab a good towel. Gotta wipe off the top of this bottle. I don't know why. Sometimes these ghost tints, they get really gooey and all the paint kind of collects up in there. Just getting all over my fingers now. Okay. Let's get into some wall section now. That was a little bit more. Not quite enough there yet. Tri-tip. dry tip. You can tell I've been really concentrating because I haven't been talking much. Well, like I said in the beginning, it wasn't going to be a terribly interesting video. Although some of you guys might be getting a kick out of this, I don't know. Alright. Let's do the base. Bit of overspray to hit it. It's okay though. How about we want to go, what's this? I think this one's kind of fun. Gets a bit of a color shift going on here. Goes from red to gold like that. I think that's kind of fun though. Maybe. Somebody out there probably going, big friggin' deal. Anybody can do that with an airbrush. And of course, after this, I've got to seal this all with a sealant, of course. I'll move this so overspray doesn't get on it. Dry tip. There we go. Not too bad. Hopefully I'm not messing up my work. Where does this go here? Let's see if we can spray this way.
Go, Rob.
And that's it. Time to flush. And that'll be it for the red. And then we are going to clean up and put in the gloss. Of course, because the ghost tints do tend to bleed into other colors, that's why we do have to come in and apply a gloss varnish afterwards. So we'll be doing that after I clean this all up. So I'll come back in a little bit later. Okay, so time to seal the models. Grab another glove. As you can imagine, you go through quite a few gloves when you are just handling the models instead of using like a spray booth or a spray stand or something along those lines. To seal the models, I often like to use, especially for like terrain and big models, I like to use Future Floor Shine. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard me use that before. And so that's what I'll be using right now. And so with the Future, you see here, Future with Pledge and Future. In Canada, we get it as Pledge with Future Floor Shine. In the States, I think it's just still Future, but it might be just Pledge now. I don't know if they one bought out the other, or if I can even get this open. That's unscrewed. So very careful here. Let's pour some into our well. And it actually doesn't take too much to seal the model. And I'll probably end up sealing it on both sides just to make sure that I get a good seal on everything. And of course I spilled a whole bunch there. Overzealous with my strokes. Tear off a little chunk of paper towel here. Try to clear this up. Don't need a big sticky mess here. And essentially this stuff dries just like acrylic varnish. And so this will dry really nicely once it's done. I'm going to spray just the one side for now. I may come in later on and spray another side, but again, like I mentioned before, you don't need that much. spray this all down. Again, when you're using Minotaur, you do want to seal after you've used it, just so you don't get no color transference. That's the main reason for sealing at this point now, before adding any kind of highlights or anything like that. Of course, everybody knows that I like my Eldar with a nice shine to it. Just a little bit more here. Just a little splash. Oops, too much. Oops. Oh well. It's okay. I'll live. And there we go. And I think that's it. Everything's sprayed, sealed. And we've got a nice finish to it. Spray. Gotta let that dull dry. And so now, let's give it another quick little pass here. Just to use up what we've got. And that's it. Now just clean her up and we're all done. And so next episode, I will be working on finishing the details and probably start on the back sides. And so we'll start that probably tomorrow maybe. Or maybe we'll come back later tonight. Who knows? Either way, that'll be in the next episode. So, see you guys later. Any questions, comments, leave them below. And, yeah, don't forget to like and share and whatever. All the YouTube-ness. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Another episode of the Airbrush Noob.